Hello and welcome back to the another episode of the Hindu News Analysis. Well, it is 3rd November today, and in this video, we are going to discuss some important articles which are very much relevant for your preparation. But before we'll start our discussion, I would like to raise few points here with about the approach which we are going to have while we are going to discuss these articles. So first, with respect to every article, we will try to understand what is the summary of the article. We'll try to understand what does the author wants to convey us, what is his idea, and we will try to analyze that idea, and we will have free mind in understanding it, and then we'll look into the point whether it is something what is wanted by UPSC or not. So this first thing what we are going to discuss here. Then second thing what we are going to discuss here is that we are going to understand the key points which were raised by the author here. These key points are very much important for you because these are the points from where you can expect a prelims question in the exam. These are the points which you need to remember, which you can use in the questions if you qualify the prelims and you qualify the mains, and you have to write the answer there, and if relevant question can be asked, and these key points you can use there. So this is going to be a very interesting session for you guys. After discussing the summary and the key points, we'll look into the one more important aspect of this article, or every article which we are going to discuss here, is that how this article can be relevant for your prelims exam and mains exam. We'll try to look into the possible prelims and mains questions if the articles are relevant for that. So this is how our approach would be while we will discuss these articles one by one. Now, I hope you had understood the basic idea behind it, how our approach would be. Now let's discuss the articles one by one, and let's try to analyze what does the author wants to convey us. So first we look into the first article, which you can see here on the screen. It is about the vision of model youth gram sabhas. So what is the idea behind it? About the Panchayati Raj institutes. Here I would like to mention that if you want to go through my polity classes, I had uploaded all lectures of your Indian polity. We had covered everything what is required for you to clear the exam, and those lectures are available on our YouTube channel. We have a separate playlist for that. Indian polity and governance is all done. So if you want to go through, dig deep into this Panchayati Raj Institute, you can go to my playlist there, and you can definitely see a separate lecture on that. But here I would like to give the brief idea. It was the 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act when when Constitution recognized the Panchayati Raj Institutes in simpler terms, when the Panchayati Raj Institutes became the constitutional body. So with respect to that, we had the panchayats in our almost all villages. We have the panchayati system, but unfortunately what we are seeing that our people, the people from our villages, they are not well educated for these panchayats. They don't know how to work there. They don't know how to distribute the resources. They don't have any idea about that. And unfortunately, even though we have this best system, this is the best example of direct democracy. But unfortunately, we are not able to provide. We are not able to achieve the success what we had desired to get through the Panchayati Raj institutes. So, what was the basic drawback of that? Some may say it is the funds. They are not able to get the funds. They are not able to generate the funds that much. Correct. Some may say it is lack of resources in another way. Some may say there is lack of infrastructure. Definitely it is true. But at the same time, there is one thing which is also missing, that it is lack of education. Lack of education. That our people are not that educated to understand the Panchayati Raj institutes, and they are not well skilled to contribute to it. So in this regard, the Panchayati Raj Ministry, they collaborated with the Ministry of Education, and they induced this idea that model youth gram sabhas. This idea should be induced within very deep in our school systems. That our children from the very young age, they should be trained in a similar way how these Panchayati Raj institutes work, how the resources are to be distributed, and how they are to be elected. So this is the model youth gram sabha, that it has been introduced in the very schools, so that our children will get well educated with respect to that, and they will get well trained. So this project, it was first introduced in 1,000 schools, I guess, across 28 states and 8 UTs, and now they are to be extended to various other schools. So in this regard, this is the whole idea which the author here wants to convey us, and it is very much important for your preparation. Now, with this, I hope you had got the summary of the article. Now, let's move to the key points. Let's analyze what does the authors want to convey us here, and let's see what are the points which we need to know, which can be asked in the exam. So, let's go to the key points now. Let's see them one by one. Here, first, what is the constitutional and democratic significance of the Gram Sabha? Constitutional basis, the Gram Sabha is the foundation of the Panchayati Raj system, that is very well understood, defined by Article 243A of the Constitution, introduced by the 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act 1992, very well understood. And it is the purest democracy as per the author. It represents direct, participatory, accountable democracy, embodying everyone registered voter in the village. That is what we had defined in Gram Sabha as. It is everybody who is the registered voter is the member of the Gram Sabha. What is the function? Empowers rural citizens to deliberate on budgets, development plans, and governance, prioritize fostering transparency and inclusive development. This is the whole idea of the Panchayati Raj Institute. And what is the problem? Despite its potential, it remains an unsung hero with minimal participation and is unfamiliar to most youth, unlike concepts like the model UN. So, this is the exact problem, and that's why it has been introduced. Now, with this, let's move forward and see what else does the author wants to convey us. The Model Youth Gram Sabha Initiative objected the position of the Gram Sabha as aspirational for youth and to embed local governance into the educational curriculum to build a Viksit Bharat. So this is the first idea behind it. Launch when it was launched in 2025 by the Ministry of Panchayati Raj in collaboration with Ministry of Education, Ministry of Tribal Welfare, and the Aspirational Bharat Collaborative. So please do remember them. It can be asked in the exam. Who is the ministry behind it? So such questions are often asked in the exam. And here I would like to mention a trick. If you are preparing for UPSC, most of the times, all approximately 80% of the times, whenever the question is asked about the ministry, 80% of the times the statement given is wrong. So please remember that if you do know the ministry there, then you should assume that this statement is wrong. This works 80% of the times. If your luck is favoring you, then it may be correct. It will work for you. If not, then what can happen to that? But first, you should try to remember that. If you cannot remember all the ministries, then at least remember this trick. Then what is the function? It simulates a real Gram Sabha process where students take on roles like Sarpanch, ward members, and health workers to discuss and pass resolutions on village issues, budgets, and development plans. That's exactly what we discussed. What is the scope? Launched in over 1,000 schools across 28 states and UTs, including Jawahar, Navodaya Vidyalas, and Eklavya Model Residential Schools. So it has been launched over 1,000 schools. Now let's move forward. What is the impact and vision behind it? Educational values. The exercise transforms abstract civics into a lived democratic experience, cultivating knowledge of local governance and the rights, responsibilities of the citizens. This is true. Then cultivating leadership, it nurtures civic pride and local leadership, intending that future IAS officers or parliamentarians will value the power of local governance. That's true. Then democratic renewal. The model is seen as a seed bed for democratic renewal when young people recognize their village meeting is as vital as parliament. Democracy becomes a lived culture. So this is the significance and vision behind these model Gram Sabhas. Now, with respect to this, I hope you had understood the article, you had understood the significance of it, you had understood the impact what it is going to have on our future generations, and you are very well aware of how important it is to cultivate our youth at the very young age with respect to the democracy, how they should have this vivid memory, how they should have this vivid conscience of what democracy is, and it should run in their blood it should run in their veins like the blood runs. So with this, let's see what kind of question you can expect from this article, the question which we can inspire from this article. Let's have a look at it. The question says, with reference to the Gram Sabha in India, consider the following statements. First, it is a constitutional body defined under Article 243A of the Indian Constitution, correct? Second, it is an elected body composed of the Sarpanch and all ward members of the village panchayat. It is incorrect because it is Gram Sabha is not an elected body. These are the all registered voters. So please know that. It is primary function is to directly elect the members of the village panchayat. It is also incorrect. So with respect to this question, the correct statement is statement A only. So with this, I hope you had understood this article very well. Now let's move to the another article and let's try to understand what does the author wants to convey here. Well, this is a very critical topic with respect to the international relations. Here the author has a very different view with respect to the Taliban, how we should deal with them. So as per the here, as per the topic itself, as per the heading itself, it says engage the Taliban, don't recognize them. So what is the issue here? Recently post Operation Sindoor, we had seen various issues. We had faced various issues. Oh, so post Operation Sindoor, we understood one thing, that there were not many countries who supported this initiative. To be honest with ourselves, somewhere we have to be honest. Even though we were the victims, even though we inflicted the damage to the Pakistan's reputation, but unfortunately, the countries around the world, they did not recognize the effort, the pain which we had suffered through the Pulwama attack, through the Pahalgam attack, and then the retaliation, the forced retaliation which we were forced to go for. That world did not understood that well. And I can quote here the statement given by our external minister, that external affairs minister, that out of 193 countries, UN 191 or now above countries, only 3 countries they supported Pakistan. Well, somehow this is true, but at the same time, if we analyze this statement is a kind of, we can say in a diplomatic terms, we often say such terms, but the difference, there is little difference, that there were no such countries who supported us too. Many countries, most of them were very much neutral, and in this regard, in this time period, we don't want our allies to be neutral, that is 100%. But there were few countries who supported our initiative, and you know what, Taliban was one among them. So Afghanistan, led by Taliban, was one amongst them. So this showed that there can be the collaboration between Taliban and India. And recently we saw that their foreign minister, he visited India, and we updated our technical commission there to the diplomatic, level. We to the embassy level. That is something great to achieve. But at the same time, we are seeing that there are clashes going on between Pakistan and Taliban. How Pakistan inflicted damage in Taliban in Kabul, how they did airstrikes there, and the things are not going that well with the Taliban and Pakistan. So it is as old as it is saying that enemy's enemy is your friend. Enemy's enemy is your friend. But the reality is it so? Are we going to recognize the Taliban? If we look into the Taliban regime, even though it may seem right now friendly with us, but deep inside the Taliban, it is still that extremist point of view, where, as per the article, women are not given the rights to study, they are not even given the rights to educate themselves, they are not recognized, they are not given the right to serve themselves, they are not provided with the jobs and the economy, because of their extremist mind setup. Their economy is very down. As per the article, approximately 50% of the Afghanistan's population, they depend on the world aid. So is it the time that India is going to recognize such country who had so many human rights violations happening in the country, where so much human rights violation are happening? So in this regard, the author here wants to convey we should engage with the Taliban. We should provide them the funds. We should use them in our way. We should protect our infrastructure, which we had developed since 2001. Approximately $3 billion investment we had developed there. We should protect that, but at the same time, we should keep keen eye over it that we should not recognize this country where this much human rights violation is happening. And also, the author wants to convey here that as right now we are in Taliban is very much dependent on India. So they would be dependent on what? Definitely aid from India. They would be dependent on aid from India, and India can use this as a leverage where they can inflict the democratic values into the Taliban that we are going to provide you the aid if you will do these things for the woman, if you will do these things for the children. So in this way, we can help this country which is long which has seen which has served so much time into the civil wars, which had seen the huge human rights violations, which has seen so much disaster. We can help this country evolve democratically, evolve economically, if we want them to if they want us to help them. At the same time, we can engage them with ourselves in a very better way. And also, we can force them that their territory should not be used as the, anti-Indian agent, anti-Indian standards should not be applied in Afghanistan, or they should not be used by the anti-India agents. So this is exactly what the author here wants to convey. Now with this, let's have a look at the key points and see what did the author conveyed us here. So first, the geopolitical pivot context. The Taliban's return to power has strained this ties with their former patron Pakistan. We know that, evidenced by cross-border clashes and a recent bombing by Pakistan in Kabul. That's true. Everybody knows that. India's strategy. New Delhi is adopting a policy of conditional and gradual engagement with the Taliban, viewing them as an enemy's enemy. That is true. Escalation of ties demonstrated by the visit of Taliban's foreign minister Amir Khan Muttaqi to India and India's decision to upgrade its mission in Kabul to a full embassy. That is exactly what we discussed. Now let's move forward. India's core objective in Afghanistan: protecting investment, safeguard the estimated 3 billion invested between 2001 and 2021. Security guarantee, ensure the Afghan soil is not used by anti-Indian militants. The Taliban assured this will not happen. Strategic depth denial, prevent the Taliban from becoming an external arm of the Pakistani establishment, thereby exploring the Taliban's autonomy. So these are the objectives. Then arguments against immediate recognition, repression and totalitarianism. The Taliban regime has not fundamentally changed its repressive policies, notably gender apartheid, banning girls from schools beyond their primary level, enforcing strict segregation, and largely banning women from workplaces that we had discussed. Economic collapse. The economy has contracted by approximately one third since 2021, with nearly 22.9 million Afghans, almost half the population requiring humanitarian assistance that we discussed. Terrorist links. A UN Security Council report suggests that Taliban remain the primary partner of all foreign terrorist groups operating in Afghanistan, allowing groups like Al Qaeda, Jaish-e-Mohammed, Lashkar-e-Taiba to consolidate their presence. Now, with this, let's move forward. Here, what is the conclusion on India's policy? Leverage. The Taliban need India's assistance more than India needs immediate diplomatic ties, given their collapsing economy and hostile neighbor Pakistan. Recommendation: India should maintain a wait and watch approach, using engagement bilateral and multilateral to press the regime for economic recovery, political inclusion, and respect for fundamental freedoms, rather than prematurely granting legitimacy through formal recognition. So this is exactly what we had discussed so far. So in this regard, what kind of question you can expect? A mains question, a direct mains question. Or here, for example, here the question says the principle of conditional engagement with an ideologically hostile regime like the Afghan Taliban presents a constant test of balancing strategic self-interest with adherence to universal values. So critically analyze the efficacy and long-term risks for India in pursuing a foreign policy that prioritizes geopolitical leverage countering a rival state, and economic investment protection, or the formal recognition of a regime that systematically violates human rights, particularly those of women. Discuss the role the regional consensus building can play in mitigating the strategic instability arising from Afghan's economic collapse. So, if you want to write the question answer to this question, and you want me to check your answer, you can write it. You can mail your answer at salvation UPSC 136 at the rate gmail.com. With this, let's move to the another slide and see what it is about. Well, the article here talks about the ICMR seeks partnership to develop antibody against Nipah virus. Nipah virus, which is transferred through bats, it is a zoonotic virus. So, about this, let's discuss what does the author here wants to convey us. Yet the Nipah virus threat is a zoonotic disease transmitted from animals to humans. Prevalence has repeatedly caused outbreak in India since 2001. Lethality exhibits a very high case fatality rate between 40 to 75% depending on the clinical care available. Current gap there is an absence of licensed vaccines against Nipah virus. So with this, let's move to the another slide. Here, ICMR's initiative and countermeasure strategy action. ICMR has invited an expression of interest for the development and production of the monoclonal antibodies. Goal to build India's indigenous medical countermeasures against Nipah virus and ensure timely access to monoclonal antibodies stocks during outbreaks, boost national preparedness. Role of MABs, it has dual use, post exposure uh, prophylaxis, uh, administered early to high risk contacts, for example, exposed healthcare workers or family members to prevent disease onset. Then, therapeutic may offer benefits in patients presenting early by reducing viral load and limiting disease progression. What is implementation? Research and development work is at an advanced stage at the ICMR National Institute of Virology, Pune. The ICMR will provide expert guidance and technical oversight through the R&D and commercialization phase. So with this, what kind of question you can expect? And the question says, with reference to Nipah virus, consider the following statements. Nipah virus is classified as zoonotic virus capable of being transmitted from animals to humans, correct? Monoclonal antibodies primarily function by providing the recipient with active immunity against virus. No, it is passive immunity. So second statement is incorrect. So this statement is incorrect. This and this option B would be correct option. The use of monoclonal antibodies as a post-exposure prophylaxis relies on neutralizing the viral load before disease onset. That is exactly what we discussed. So with respect to this question, the correct statements are statement 1 and statement 3 only. And from the code given below, the correct code is option B. With this, let's move to the last article of today's discussion. As you can see here on the screen, well, the article talks about ISRO's launch advanced GSAT-7, or India's heaviest communication satellite. ISRO has launched India's heaviest communication satellite. It would be for the Indian Navy. So with this, let's have a look at the key points and let's discuss them. First, the launch and satellite name GSAT-7R, an advanced communication satellite for the Indian Navy that we discussed. Launch vehicle, ISRO's most powerful rocket, the LVM-3 launch vehicle Mark 3 on its M5 mission. Launch site, Satish Dhawan Space Center, Sriharikota. So this is the launch place. Then orbit achieved, successfully inserted into a geosynchronous transfer orbit. Weight approximately 4,400 kg, making it the heaviest Indian built communication satellite launched from Indian soil so far. Then strategic and technical significance, military capability provides robust and secure telecommunication coverage across the Indian region, Ocean region IOR. Functionality equipped with advanced transponders supporting secure voice, data, and video links for seamless connectivity between the Navy ships, submarines, aircrafts, maritime operation centers. Commitment marks a major milestone in strengthening Navy's space based communications and maritime domain awareness. Self-reliance highlights India's commitment to self-reliance Atmanirbhar Bharat in space technology, reducing dependence on foreign launchers for heavy satellites. LVM-3 milestone. The launch demonstrates the LVM-3 rocket's capability to routinely handle 4-ton plus satellites to GTO from India, which directly feeds into ISRO's preparations for the Gaganyaan human space flight program, which we are planning in the 2000, maybe in next decade. Now, with this, what kind of question you can expect? With reference to India's satellite launch, consider the following statements regarding a satellite placed in geosynchronous transfer orbit. A satellite in geosynchronous transfer orbit uses its own onboard propulsion system to reach the final geosynchronous Earth orbit. That is true. Geosynchronous Earth orbit satellites are essential for providing continuous and localized secure telecommunication services across the entire Indian Ocean region. That is true. The LBM-3 launch vehicle is primarily a four-stage rocket. No, it is a three-stage rocket. So third statement is incorrect. So with respect to this question, the correct statement is option 1 and 2, and the correct quote would be option B. With this, we had completed our today's discussion. I hope you would have liked the video. I hope you would share it with your friends so that they may also get benefited from this initiative. And please do subscribe the channel. Thank you for staying with me. Thank you very much and have a nice day.